If you weren't a fan of what the 49ers did in the 2025 NFL Draft, maybe today's show will change your tune. You're going to get fired up because on today's program, we're going to dive into why Niner fans should be pumped up about what San Francisco accomplished last week with their draft class. We're going to hear from some NFL scouts and some of what they had to say about some of these Niners prospects. Very, very intriguing. Before we do all of that, a busy live schedule today for yours truly. We will be live right here on the 49ers Report at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific here on this Thursday, May 1st. Happy May, everybody. A new month is underway. And then right after that, I'll be joining Larry Krueger on The Krug Show at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific. Usually, I hop on board his YouTube show on Fridays, but I'm off today going to test drive a car. I have to handle some things now that I have some free time after the draft, so I'm going on with Larry Krueger tonight, Bay Area sports radio legend, and of course, he does a phenomenal job on his YouTube channel with his son, Kevin. All right, let's get the show underway, and I'm excited to dive into this because I'm going to look back at the comment section to see if some people have changed their tune with what the Niners did in this draft if you didn't like what they did. And 49ers fans, of course, have been mixed about it for a couple of reasons, and I could see where you're coming from. I always try to play it down the center and have an open mind. What I like about what the Niners did with this 2025 NFL Draft, they prioritized defense. And that defense last year, because of coaching, lack of talent, lack of depth, and some injuries, it was really, really hard to watch. And so San Francisco, with this draft, prioritized rebuilding the defense. It needed to happen, and the Niners badly needed a defensive tackle, a defensive end, linebacker, and corner. And with some of those positions, they had multiple needs at those individual spots. And the Niners were able to check those boxes off. There was also a huge emphasis on San Francisco specifically fixing the run defense, which has been porous over the last couple of years, and it's slowly gone downhill since DeMeco Ryans left to become the head coach of the Houston Texans. The Niners were bad against the run under Steve Wilks, even worse under Nick Sorensen. And with this draft, you can see, and I've said this a couple of times, that Robert Saleh's fingerprints are all over it. Players who fit the identity that he wants on the defensive side of the ball, very good scheme fits, and these rookies also have impressive athletic traits, and I don't think that the learning curve is going to be drastic for a lot of these defensive rookies because they're experienced college players who played a lot in college, and we kind of saw this with last year's draft class in 2024. The Niners took a lot of players who had played a lot of football, which then led to them being able to make an impact very quickly. What I don't like about this draft, the Niners came away with one offensive lineman. It's inexcusable. The Niners went into the draft last week badly needing a right tackle, a center, and an offensive guard. They drafted Connor Colby, and that's it. The Curtis Rourke pick, the quarterback out of Indiana, was a little bit weird in that 7th round. I like how he can process and throw with touch and anticipation. He can drive the ball downfield. He has pretty good size, but he's an older player. He's been injured a lot. He's not that mobile. The Junior Bergen pick with the Niners' final 7th round selection, I thought that was a little bit of a reach. He could have been a UDFA. Now the Niners are bringing him in as an elusive and explosive special teams player, a very good returner who is one of the best in the history of FCS football, but I think the Niners could have just signed him as a UDFA and perhaps would have drafted another offensive lineman. That's what I would have done. And then they took Jordan James, a running back who's a great scheme fit, never fumbled in college, good pass protector. He's a classic outside zone runner, but there were better backs I thought the Niners could have taken in a loaded running back class. As for Mykel Williams, the first pick, 11th overall out of Georgia, he is an athletic freak. I've discussed this on the show. He is immediately going to be able to help and improve what has been a bad and very frustrating to watch Niners run defense. His body with the size, the length, the athleticism, the speed, just him being able to play with force It translates to the NFL level right away. But in college, given how athletic he was, he did have some production issues. He has a take for why the production was lacking. Here's what an NFL scout and scouts said about Mykel Williams. He just doesn't have the production you would expect out of his traits. I interviewed him. He got really fired up when I started asking him about teams banging on him on production. He said, I can't wait for this. I played what the coaches told me to play. I two-gapped a lot, and they put me inside a lot of times. I'm an edge rusher, and I can have 10 sacks on the edge. That's his narrative. Mykel's a little bit more of a power player, whereas Trayvon Walker, who was taken number 1 a few years ago out of Georgia as well, could do a lot more athletically. Longest arms, though, at the position, 34 and 3/8-inch arms. Hands were 10 1/4. Another scout said, I thought this guy was better than Trayvon Walker. If he had the year he was supposed to, he would have challenged for the first pick in the draft. That didn't happen. Now, why didn't it happen? Why were the sacks low? Mykel Williams said himself, I was used as a two-gapper. I played some defensive tackle. I think that Williams can do that at the NFL level, by the way, but scheme usage is a big factor. And under Kirby Smart at Georgia, they are so good defensively because Georgia defenders do such a great job of playing their roles. They really play a team-oriented style of football defensively. Here's where things get juicy and exciting. A defensive line coach on Mykel Williams in the NFL. I think he will have a better career than Jalen Walker or Abdul Carter. He's physical as F. He played hurt this year. He didn't care. Pullers come at him. He intends on effing them up. Guys, I know what Georgia told me. He's going to be better than Trayvon Walker, and I think that Walker is a baller. Overall, I think he's better than all of them. Yo, if Mykel Williams can be better than Abdul Carter, who was taken number 3 by the Giants and was my favorite player in this draft, that is a huge home run for San Francisco. Now, of course, all of these opinions are different from NFL scouts and NFL coaches. Abdul Carter, for me, best edge rusher in this class, best overall player in this class, ahead of Travis Hunter. I like Travis Hunter in the two-way. He's special, but he's a little bit light. He plays 2 positions, and how are you going to have him on a pitch count and manage that? But Mykel Williams certainly has the potential to be up there in my eyes with Abdul Carter if he refines the pass rush and has a better plan. And maybe just playing 4-3 defensive end can bring that out of him. Also remember this. Not only was Williams injured last year, which impacted his production. He was kind of playing on one leg a lot. He's only 20 years old. 20 years old at that size and physicality, and he's going to be able to impact the game right from the jump in stopping the run. And then if he can work on the pass rushing skills, he can be a dangerous player. Todd McShay, by the way, former ESPN NFL draft analyst who was the right-hand man for Mel Kiper for years, is now hosting a podcast on The Ringer. He's crushing it. If McShay's team is watching, you guys are doing a phenomenal job. And McShay, it's great to have you back. For instance, the pre-draft show that he did with Ryan Russillo and Daniel Jeremiah, as good as it gets, it really brought me back to when ESPN was in its prime, when everybody actually watched them outside of just live games. The analysis there was phenomenal. And McShay absolutely loves the pick of Mykel Williams. He said he's a great run defender right now, long, physical, has the traits. He also said something interesting. For a player who's a little bit young and a little bit raw, it's a great landing spot for him to go to the Niners, playing with Nick Bosa, who McShay called a loony tick, and he emphasized that, loony tick, meaning he's loony about the craft, about the nuances, about some of the in-depth, complex things that come with having to be successful at the edge rusher spot, and just the craft that goes into being a great player. And obviously, that is seen with Bosa's game, how seriously he takes his conditioning, his nutrition, his body. And I agree, good person to learn from is Nick Bosa for Mykel Williams. Alfred Collins in the second. I thought it was a little bit of a reach, But like with Mykel Williams, Alfred Collins out of Texas is going to be able to have an impact right away. The Niners had multiple needs at defensive tackle. They took multiple players at defensive tackle with Mykel Williams and C.J. West, who I also think can be one of the biggest steals of the draft because of the quickness and the explosion and the violence in which he plays with and the speed that he has. Sub-5 40-yard dash at over 300 pounds. Here's what an NFL scout said on Alfred Collins. He's just a junkyard dog. He just messes shit up in there. Just a load at the point of attack. He can jolt and snatch people. He takes double team blocks on. Got some sneaky quickness in the gaps. He plays with balance. Not much range. Not going to do a lot of sexy things. As far as his pass rush, just sometimes he gets a big push and he uses his length to try to mess things up. He's the type of guy you need to win. Not going to be a Pro Bowler or a 10-sack guy, just a guy in there wrecking things and being a problem. I know some people might be disappointed with that NFL scout saying, oh, he's not going to be a Pro Bowler? What's the point of taking him at number 43? I'll tell you this. The Niners need a game-wrecking, run-stuffing defensive tackle who's going to take on double teams. He's going to play with speed, athleticism, and violence. He's going to jump up at the line of scrimmage and bat passes down, which is what Alfred Collins did. The Niners need somebody who's going to stir some shit up because they were lacking that swagger last year. They didn't have that edge. They didn't have an identity. And Alfred Collins and Mykel Williams can bring that back. McShay echoing a little bit of that. He said, Collins, a little bit early at 43, but right away, he'll be stout against the run. Like Williams, too, in my eyes, has an NFL body. And McShay also said this will help the defensive line get back to being a sum of bad boys, which last year that caught the Niners off guard because they didn't have a lot of bad cats along the defensive line. All of these Niners rookies defensively have pedigree in stopping the run. Mykel Williams, Alfred Collins, Nick Martin, Upton, Stout. That was the emphasis of this Niners draft, improving the run defense. And one of the issues that the Niners as a defensive unit had last year, there were so many instances, and it became a theme that so often offenses who the Niners played were in third and shorts, easy to convert. If you're better against the run, you will force teams into third and longs more, and that just makes your job so much easier on the defensive side of the ball. So think about it in that way that, yeah, some of these players like Williams and Collins, they need to be better. C.J. West as pass rushing defensive linemen. But you also get the benefit if you're better against the run because that then leads to a cumulative effect of it helping your pass defense. So with that, let me ask you this. Who is your favorite Niners draft pick? Let me know down in the comment section. Give me a name. Always want to hear from the Niner gang. If you want a Mykel Williams jersey, they're available. Chatsports.com/49jersey. You plug in that link. It'll take you to our friends at Fanatics. Then Fanatics will know that Chat Sports, the 49ers Report, and Chase Sr. sent you. Bunch of different jerseys available. Authentic, replicas, the old school throwbacks like the Purdy and McCaffrey jerseys that we've been showing you, or the standard Niners road whites, the standard home scarlet red, and the Nick Bosa. You can also get some throwback legendary Hall of Fame players like Joe Montana and Jerry Rice. Just use that link down below. Get yourself a Niners jersey or jerseys today. Chatsports.com/49jersey. We'll put that link down below in the show notes and attached to the pinned comment of today's show. Todd McShay loves Upton Stout. He said he's one of my favorites in this draft. A slot corner, he's glue, and he said about Stout, there's no cornerback that gives up less separation. Upton Stout has legit 4.3, 4.4 speed. Yeah, he might be a little bit small at 180 pounds, only 5'8", 5'9", but he plays physical. He plays the game with reckless abandon. He, too, plays bigger than his size. He can run. And some analysts, you can tell when they're covering the NFL draft, they don't watch the Niners a lot. I've heard some people say the Niners, they already have a slot corner in Deommodore Lenoir. The Niners want to keep him on the outside. And last year, he played primarily on the outside. And he played very well on the outside. So the Niners had a bigger need slot corner, and that's why they took Upton Stout, who I think is going to be able to play right away, and another experienced college player. McShay didn't love the Nick Martin pick, linebacker out of Oklahoma State. I did. You go back and look at his 2023 tape, he had more than 100 tackles. He had a few sacks, TFLs. He was a game wrecker and a game changer, and he is the type of linebacker who the Niners covet, who will remind you a lot of Azeez Al-Shire, Dre Greenlaw, just with the play style there. McShay, he said that Jordan James is one of his favorite backs in this draft, and he's not far off running style-wise of R.J. Harvey of UCF, who went very early to the Denver Broncos, I believe. I think R.J. Harvey went like the second or third round. I mean, an excellent pick, I think, for the Broncos because they needed a good running back. As far as Jordan James, classic outside zone runner, needs to work a little bit on pass catching, but does have some ability there. Didn't cough the ball up once in his entire career at Oregon. He runs very physical, good lower body control, good pass protector too. You need to be able to do the little things as a running back in Kyle Shanahan's offense, and I think Jordan James is going to fight for carries in year one. McShay talking about the Curtis Rourke pick, who, by the way, some people are nicknaming him Maple Jordan. Absolutely love it. He's from Canada. McShay said he couldn't have wound up in a better spot. Plays a little bit like Brock Purdy. Didn't have a lot of protection at Indiana, going up against some high-level NFL caliber defenses in the Big Ten. Indiana didn't make it to the college football playoff. Tough as nails. He played the entire season last year on a torn ACL. McShay noting what we've talked about, that Rourke is very accurate, layers the ball well, not really that mobile, though. As far as Connor Colby goes, some people think that maybe he can be a day 3 steal along the offensive line. He, too, an excellent scheme fit for the outside zone. And when you play at Iowa, you need to play nasty. And Connor Colby does. Here's what an NFL scout said on Connor Colby. 4-year starter. He can get off the ball with quickness and attack blocks. Plays to the whistle. Looks to finish and torque defenders. Above average lateral slide and anchor. Smart, competitive. Played multiple positions. He'll go day 3 and stick on a team. Could eventually work his way in as a starter. So with what the NFL scout said there, that is the prototypical offensive lineman for Kyle Shanahan's offense. Gets off the ball, comfortable on pull blocks, comfortable on the move. He's smart, has good technique. I think the Niners really like the athleticism. Connor Colby, a 9.66 relative athletic score, 6'5", 309. He is not that Mekhi Becton type of offensive guard who's 330 pounds. He's a lot more slender. But again, this is an offense where you want your blockers getting out in space and on the move. And Colby, elite athletic traits with the broad, with the 40-yard dash, the 20-yard split, 10-yard split. That's the quickness to get out of your stance and on the run in the ground game. And then there was Matt Miller, who put together his top 100 steals in the NFL draft. He listed 4 Niners on that list. Mykel Williams was number 38. C.J. West, his 78th best steal. Jordan Watkins, 4.3 speed out of Ole Miss, 90th. And then Jordan James inside that top 100 at 98th. If you want to go back and look at my draft grades, it's about a 30-minute video. The draft analysis and scouting analysis that I gave you there, fantastic. I talked about every single pick. So I encourage you to check that video out. A lot of people have, more than 50,000 views. Does this change today's show? Your opinion on this Niners draft? I started off the show with that question and posing that talking point. So let me know now by typing Y for yes or N for no.